Elder Bednar, appreciate you taking the time. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. It's a privilege to be here.
So 10 years ago, you gave a talk called Sweep the Earth as with the Flood, and you basically invited the members of the church to use the inspired tools of social media to share the gospel online.
You mentioned we as members being authentic, posting everyday messages about how the church, how the gospel has changed their lives. Is there anything that you would say that we need to focus on as members as far as what to post, or just general messages of the church?
I wouldn't prescribe what people ought to do. I think as we focus on the work of proclaiming the gospel, we emphasize just be normal and natural. If an individual or a family would consider just their normal, natural routine, what's something that they would be interested in posting and just sharing? It doesn't have to be a gospel message. We are the gospel message. I think it could help people to understand that what we do is much more important than what we may write or say. So some of the very normal things that we do, it may be that someone would simply highlight one aspect of a family home evening. And it might be that a young child would be giving a lesson. Now, we all think that's normal. That's abnormal. In a home, to have a child taking the lead in providing some instruction. Well, a few segments about that, a little commentary about, here's what we focused on. We were talking about prayer because in our home, we believe prayer is important. And then have the little kid. What was it like for you to give this lesson? People would just be blown away to think that a 6, 7-year-old kid could give a lesson. So it's just so normal, natural, small increments, line upon line. That's how you get started. You gain a little experience, you see what works, what doesn't work. That's what we do. There are things that we say, let's try this. Well, that didn't work very well, but you learn something about what your next episode will be. So I would just invite people to be prayerful. Consider the normal, natural flow of your life. And what can you do about your life, about your family, about your children that highlights the gospel, but it's not an in-your-face, overt, come have the missionaries come to your home. Just live the gospel. Let some of that be in your social media posts, and it will create a curiosity. We live a distinctive lifestyle. And if we just have natural elements of that lifestyle, some folks are going to find that pretty interesting. I think the light that will be associated with the messages that come from authentic disciples of the Lord Jesus Christ will become ever more attractive in a world where people will use these tools to enhance the darkness. The light will shine ever brighter.
We start to feel inadequate or insecure. Are we going to do it well? Are we going to say it doctrinally? Are we going to make a mistake? What advice do you have for those of us who feel those insecurities and that inadequacy to share the gospel?
Well, number one, I'm not sure that this is the avenue for proclaiming, every element of the doctrine.
Right.
So I think to keep it pure, if we keep it pure, we keep it simple. It's easy to do your homework to know that you are expressing it the way the Lord and His servants and His church would want it expressed. I think the homework that one does can give you the confidence to know that you're not stepping outside the bounds. So I think that's the beginning point. The other thing is that the principles of the gospel are really simple, and there's a lot of stuff that we don't know. I think it's almost as important to know what we don't know as it is to know what we do know. So if it's an area where there's some uncertainty about, do we really know this? Don't mess with it. Stick with the simple things that we know. Those can be verified. And then I think all of that uncertainty or that concern can be eliminated.
Like that. And I think you've already addressed the other half of that, which is focus less on what to say and more on who you are and sharing how the gospel works in your life.
Yeah, if what you're doing, you may recall the talk that President Eyring gave as a member of the Quorum of the 12 early in his service about if you will pray and ask God to help you to see His hand in your life every day. If you do that at the end of the day, he promised, he said, you'll look back and reflect and see how God has reassured, comforted, rebuked, helped you in some way during the course of the day. And I have listened to countless numbers of people who have taken that counsel and testified that I have seen things in my life that I previously had not seen or recognized. Yeah. Well, simply sharing something like that, you know, from your own experience living the principle. You don't need to declare the principle per se, but in the process of describing your experience with the principle, you are declaring it and making it relatable. Yeah.
How can we be peacemakers in social media? I think sometimes it's hard for a lot of people to defend their faith, their beliefs, but also be respectful and a peacemaker. It's like a fine line.
Sure. I don't know that we have to defend it. I think we have the responsibility to proclaim what we know. Proclaiming is not in your face, and there's something wrong with you if you don't accept it as soon as I tell you. I think many times we have the propensity to respond, but we don't know what we're responding to. Can you help me understand where you're coming from with this? It seems like you're kind of attacking. Is this intended to be an attack? The fact that you're trying to clarify and understand where they're coming from is the first step in peacemaking. If you are living the gospel, there will be people who do not agree with what you believe and what you do, and some of them will have a disposition to want to attack. You become a peacemaker when you don't respond in kind. You'll never be acknowledged, accepted, or recognized by everyone. It really doesn't matter what you do. Someone will find fault, be critical. And the question is, are you and I grounded enough to be able to receive that incoming flack and say, well, this person clearly didn't appreciate this post. But if what you did was true, it was you, then I don't see how you let that stuff bother you. In everything in social media, it's a pull. It's not a push. You're not in their face. You're not deriding them or denigrating them because they don't respond to the message. If they choose not to pull it, or if they pull it and their choice is, I don't like this, we respect that. We can also learn from it. If it just stops, I posted and I got slammed. You got to learn something from what it was that caused the slamming. And the learning from that episode, I think, is part of the essence of why we're here on the earth and what we're supposed to learn in everything that we do. We may have said something in a way that after the fact we recognize, that probably wasn't as effective as it needed to be. I can see how someone might have not responded to that. So we learn a lesson, but you can't live in a world of constantly looking back, I wish I had. If that's what you wish you had, then do that the next time, and it will help it to become more effective.
And as we're wrapping up, what would be your invitation to the world 10 years later?
My invitation would be, don't make this harder than it is. Don't complicate it. It's a remarkable learning process. It's not hard. Keep it simple. Don't be afraid to give it a go. There are great sources to get some help if you're just getting started. And this is not going away. This is the way the world works now. I've said to missionaries in the field, we began in 2013-14 introducing digital devices for missionaries to use. And a part of what I said to them is, this is not just about doing your missionary work now. You need to learn how to use these tools for righteousness now so that will be your pattern throughout your entire life. This is how the world communicates, and you need to learn how to do it for righteousness.